Okay, so listen, the questions are flooding in. So we're going to do quick. We're going to do quick fire, you two. Okay, we're going to try and tear through these questions. We'll do quick fire. So give us kind of short answer each. Okay, so the first one for either of you. What's happening? Maybe for you, Yulia. What's happening with Ukrainian local media? So Beth says the Overseas Press Club gave out some small grants to Ukrainian journalists early in the war. You know, people were saying that their news organizations were under great economic pressure at the same time that their work was more important than ever. So Ukrainian local media, how's it going? Briefly.
Oh, okay, that's a good question. We have lots of regional independent medias which actually started to appear since 2014. One bold example would be Cukor, which is based in Sumy, and they saying that we're doing the stories which are about border area, so mostly covering war, but through their local perspective. And recently they lost part of their funding because of threatening the USAID program here in Ukraine. So they just look for another way to keep going, looking for local businesses who could partly sponsor them or so on. We have amazing Kyiv Independent, which is based in Kyiv, but kind of national media as well. It's online media covering Ukraine in English, which is available in English, which I truly admire. And I would say that it's not that easy to stay local, and it's not that easy to compete with anonymous Telegram channels, which cover different regions and regional issues as well. And I would say that local media are competing with Telegram channels mostly than with national media. But they all are doing this job despite of reality, not with support, but despite everything. And recently, for example, this Sumy-based one, they were just like raising donations to keep going. But the main thing which I admire in Ukrainian regional media is that they are all locals. They cover local news. They are as close as possible to the ground. And they're really highlighting these local topics which never get the chance to appear in bigger national media. But this job which regional colleagues do is incredible. As well, we have
Okay, stop. I mean, that's brilliant. No, but I just so Isobel, related to this, but also different, I suppose. Another question from Beth, which I think is really interesting, which is, how do you manage to be objective in inverted commas in your reporting in the situation from Ukraine? Because I just filed a story for The Guardian and I ended up including a quote from Dmitry Peskov, Vladimir Putin's press spokesman, right at the bottom, but a man who spends his entire career lying about everything. And so the sort of paradigm that, the traditional news paradigm of both sides, you have this side saying this side saying the other, you put it together and then you get an approximation of the truth. To my mind, doesn't really work with Ukraine, because one side lies and the other broadly tells the truth. I mean, Isobel, what do you think? Is your reporting objective? What is objective in this context? And briefly.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think that it really kind of depends on what you're writing about. But I think being objective it's more about, I think in journalism it's more about searching for the truth, whatever that is. So if you're writing a story about who started the war, well, it's pretty easy to find the answers to that question and tell the truth about that question. And I mean, that does thread through a lot of pieces, to be honest, because it is, in most of the coverage, you're kind of looking at, well, okay, well, if this person, if Russia took its troops out of Ukraine, then there wouldn't be, do you see what I mean? So, like, yes, Ukraine has internal problems. Ukraine has corruption. It's not the most efficient state, but neither is the UK. Let's be honest. But the point being, but does it deserve to be bombed every night and to be attacked every night, and to have its citizens in the occupied territories be re-educated and put in various prisons for is Russia allowed to hold however many, like 7,000 Ukrainian soldiers in their prisons as prisoners of war, and however many civilians? No. Do you see what I mean? So I think it's kind of like if you take it very basic look, it's kind of like the husband beating up their wife. Maybe Putin perceives that he's been slighted, but does that give him the right to do this? No. So I think it's a moral compass thing more than anything. And then I think you can do microcosm pieces as well, just about the internal situation in Ukraine, but bring it back out to the bigger picture at the same time, to be fair, to say, yeah, well, maybe so X official did this, but does it mean that Ukraine's at fault for the war? No. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. That's a good answer. Basically, our obligation, this is my view as well, is to the truth, rather than to kind of some idea of fairness which doesn't always apply. Right, another kind of on the ground question from William Holstein. Yulia, maybe take this, but again, keep it short. Is it conceivable that Trump will simply stop providing military supplies to Ukraine? I think probably yes. But if he does, I think we can agree probably yes. If he does, how long can Ukraine hold off the Russians? In other words, what is this year going to look like? If and when the US stops giving assistance, which I think is guaranteed.
As long as it takes, someone said in the past.
What do you mean?
I would say that are you want to hear the accurate number of months or years or whatever? I'm just not the one to put the prognosis. I would say that Ukrainians gonna hold as long as it's needed. And it's not a question, would we have US as a ally still or not? This war already costed my country and my people that much. So when you have almost in every family someone lost a relative or lost a limb or lost a house, when you felt this war, not just read about it, you don't have even this question in your head, like, oh, how long could we still going on without US? We're gonna still going on without even everyone, I would say. And back then, 11 years ago, there was the bloodiest day during the revolution when more than 100 protesters were killed on the streets. And I do remember that was the moment when you feel that there would be no tomorrow at all, that the world is over, that's like we're all gonna die. Oh, that was such a grim and dark mood back then. But I also remember that you have the meaningful feeling inside that I know what I'm fighting for. As long as you know what you are fighting for, you never ask like, okay, when is over? Like, time is over, please, like, I want to get back home. I'm gonna hold as long as it needed.